Are you all set, Olivia?
Recording in progress.
You're all set, Olivia?
Yes, it's recording now.
Great. Good evening. My name is Peter Basserman, and I'm chairman of Branford's Inland Wetland Commission. I will now open the commission's regular monthly meeting of December 11th, 2025. It's now 7 p.m. This evening's meeting will be conducted as a virtual meeting using the Zoom software conferencing platform. It's being held in accordance with Connecticut's Statute 22-3 and the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regulations for the town of Branford. Documents referenced during the meeting are available on the town's OpenGov portal or via the agency's webpage. Final agenda for tonight's meeting was filed December 9th and is posted on the town's website. Links to the material related to this evening's meeting are included on the agenda. Branford Community Television will be recording and broadcasting tonight's meeting, and we're thankful for this service to the community at large. As a reminder for those speaking at this evening's proceeding, please be conscious of positioning your camera so that the face is visible on recording. Also, to ensure an accurate and complete record of discussions, each time a statement or comment is made during tonight's meeting, speaking party must announce his or her name before articulating any comment. This applies to any party wishing to participate. Those wishing to speak can use the raise your hand feature to indicate such desire. Also, once the meeting has begun, please consider muting your microphone if you're not speaking. As this is, as part of the meeting, a public meeting, let me remind those attending that this commission has the responsibility and authority to apply the Connecticut statutes and Branford's Inland Wetland and Watercourses regulations to the matters that it considers. Commission's role is limited to protection, preservation, and regulation of inland wetlands and watercourses and any land use activities that would likely have a significantly adverse impact on them. This commission cannot consider matters outside the areas defined in our regulation and seeks to apply those regulations consistently and uniformly in its considerations. Does staff have any changes to the agenda as presented? Jamie?
No changes.
All right, now we'll take a roll call of the commissioners on the call. When I announce your name, please indicate with present. Commissioner Sotomayor?
This is Commissioner Sotomayor, present.
Commissioner Armstrong? Commissioner Armstrong?
Present.
Commissioner Boda?
Commissioner Boda, present.
Commissioner Begeman?
Commissioner Begeman, present.
Let's see, did I get everybody? Okay, Commissioner Godkowski hasn't joined yet. No problem. Let's see, Jamie Frederick, Deputy Director.
Present.
And Olivia Sandberg, Environmental Associate.
Present.
All right, we have five commissioners.
Heather Gwinnell, Enforcement
I'm
Officer.
sorry?
We also have Heather Gwinnell, Enforcement Officer.
Oh, okay. Let's see, we have five commissioners present. We have a quorum and we'll proceed. All the commissioners that were in the roll call are seated and able to participate and vote. Is there any commissioner that feels that he or she must recuse themselves from any of the proceedings this evening? Okay. Let's see, next up on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Before reviewing the minutes of the November 13th meeting, I noted in my listening to the recording of those minutes that a roll call vote was enacted to approve those minutes rather than a general consensus vote. While Robert's rules allow for either for the sake of transparency and consistency, our practice will be to apply the roll call procedure when approving minutes going forward. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th at this point?
This is Commissioner Boda. I had a question about the minutes, not so much about the overall content, but in the past, so I know that we've had a change in some office staff, and our minutes have over time and with different staff gotten shorter. And I think sometimes the perspective is that the minutes are for motions, just major items. But we've also used them in the past for some additional details, like things that we've asked of the applicant and are looking for in return. I know that was also, Jamie, it's some of that is in the file because you then correspond out. But I guess what I'm curious about is what the best practice for us is, if it is a more streamlined minutes like these, or if the minutes should have a little bit more meat in them.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So there's kind of over the past handful of years been a drive to try and reduce the content in the minutes a little bit to the information that's required to be in the minute. And we are looking to kind of continue to go in that trend. And I'm sure you commissioners have noticed that, particularly in the recent months. That is something that planning and zoning is also looking to do. I think that there's benefits to it. I certainly can understand and respect commissioners wanting a summary of information. The issue with doing that, particularly in the minutes, is what do you omit and what do you put in? And everyone has a different opinion of that. So that's really kind of putting the person taking the minutes in the hot seat. So I would say my recommendation to the commission is that we keep the minutes more to motions, who was present, who voted how. I do want to continue, commission continued. If there's specific, like if it's one or two items that were requested, that would get thrown in there. If it's more open-ended, I'd recommend commissioners look in the file because I will send written correspondence explaining all of that. And that will get added to the record and will be uploaded in OpenGov.
This is Commissioner Boda. Thank you. I think the follow-up to the applicant, that process and that kind of reiteration of the main points is super helpful. And I would tend to agree that it's probably better there. Just wanted to clarify because it's definitely different. These are much much tighter, much shorter. It was only it's a 1 page. No, 1 1/3 kind of.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, does OpenGov, the fact that we have a new software platform, does that give us an opportunity to create an easy access for essentially things that don't go in the minutes as kind of a matter of record? Any better than we had previously?
I don't think it really changes our ability to do it. Beyond, it changes our ability to make it readily available to everyone. So
right.
If I put it in OpenGov and you have the agenda, you can go to that link. That link is going to be the status of the record when you click on it. So if you're wondering, okay, have we gotten any updates for materials from the last meeting? You can still see that. So yes, in the way that it makes materials more available without having to request them.
Okay, so this is Commissioner Boda. Based on that conversation, unless folks feel otherwise, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, November 13, 2025.
And do we have a second on that motion?
Commissioner Armstrong, I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, as I indicated, we'll take a roll call vote on the minutes of November 13th. And the motion to approve those minutes, Commissioner Sotomayor? Commissioner Sotomayor, do we approve the minutes?
This is Commissioner Sotomayor. Yes, I approve the minutes.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Commissioner Armstrong, yes, I approve.
Commissioner Begeman?
Commissioner Begman, aye.
Commissioner Boda?
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. All right. First item on our agenda is the public hearing. I will now open the continuation of public hearing for BRIW 25-1001, the Chestnut Street Bridge project, which proposes to replace the Chestnut Street Bridge over the Branford Supply Pond. I also want to indicate for the record that I listened to the recording of the public hearing on 11/13 and feel prepared to participate in tonight's continued hearing. Jamie, can you just review the key dates as we wish to now consider the material for BRIW 25-1001?
Real quick before we hop over to that, I believe that Commissioner Armstrong was also not present at the November meeting. Commissioner Armstrong, were you also able to review the recording?
Yes, I am. I listened to the recording and reviewed all of the documentation, so I am fully qualified to continue.
Okay, thank you. And then just for clarification, Chairman, you're looking for an update on the materials, what we have to review?
What are the key dates that we have given our statutory timeframes?
So the commission will have to either close the public hearing this evening or request an extension of the time to hold the public hearing open from the applicant. And it looks like we've got Commissioner Goklowski logging on now for everyone's reference.
Welcome, Commissioner Goklowski.
Thank you. I got here as quickly as I could.
And Goklowski is seated. Correct?
Commissioner Goklowski is seated and can vote. All right, as we have received additional material from the applicant regarding this 25-1001, we'll first hear from the applicant, next hear comments or questions from the commission, and then we'll open the hearing up to the public. Again, please note the questions and comments this evening need to focus only on issues that address concerns about wetlands or water courses. So who do we have from the applicant this evening?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I do just want to highlight real quick, we did receive revised materials today. I believe the nature of the revisions were fairly minor in response to my comments. So I think it makes sense to go through those and just request that the applicant team also just clearly identify any changes that were made from the previous materials to the materials that were submitted today, so that the commission can determine whether or not they need more time to review it.
Okay. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Keegan Elder from WMC Consulting Engineers. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not in front of you today, I believe, is some additional information based on comments we received from Jamie earlier today and yesterday. Those include planting schedule and instructions for plantings on the planting plan, also in the narrative. We address concerns and comments from staff notes to revise impact areas for areas shown on the project that included some minor silt fence and sidewalk work that adjusted the overall totals to the temporary wetland impacts. Nothing significant in nature, Jamie can confirm. Also, not in front of you is additional information on the turbidity control curtains. Those details that go along with what's shown on your permit plans for the location and stability control curtains. So those are the changes that were made to the application documents today versus what was submitted to you on the 3rd or 4th of December.
Mr. Elder, I understand. So I've had an opportunity to look through those materials, but I do think that it is helpful since this is a public hearing. If you would kindly walk through some of those additions, I can enumerate them, but looking at Jamie's email from the 14th is a nice summary of the items that we discussed and were looking for. So if you could offer a little bit more detail about those additions, I think that would be helpful and transparent as part of the public hearing process.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Again, Keegan Elder, WMC. I assume Jamie wanted me to go over the differences between what you have in front of you versus today, but I can certainly expand on the items from the 14th. So the first item was have the wetland soil scientist review a mitigation plan for feedback, determine whether a tree could be added to offset the canopy removal, shading, lighting. Per that request, we had a site visit with the soil scientists. I also met with the soil scientist, and as a result of that, we have added a few trees along the edge of the road where we could facilitate some more growth, smaller shrubs shown on in your permit plan package. In addition to that, we moved the location of the enhancement mitigation area from where it was shown to location more to the west outside of the existing canopy line, tree line. So the intent of the enhancement mitigation area is to restore that area without taking out more canopy or more trees in those locations. So we've moved that impact area further out to limit the amount of clearing in those areas. You also have a copy of the mitigation recommendation by the soil scientist based on her conversations with Jamie and myself. So that was the first comment from the November 14th email. The second comment, the narrative should include information regarding planting, invasive management, and monitoring. The narrative was updated to include the wetland seed mix specification that I mentioned at the last meeting. In addition to that, we included the invasive species removal specification and guidelines that the contractor will have to use for removal of invasive, mitigation, also for plantings, where seed mix will be applied, type of seed mix, and so forth. Those are also located in the permit plan set, I believe sheet 7 and 8. The third comment, cofferdam, appropriate types of installations should be specific to the project. We have updated the plan notes in the permit plans to specify feasible methods of temporary cofferdams that the contractor can install here to limit the amount of impacts or potential impacts if they were allowed to use any cofferdam method approved by the DOT. So we went ahead and specified the most stringent of the temporary cofferdams to limit the footprint of work needed for handling water. That's also included on sheet 11 of 13 of your permit plan set. Turbidity control curtains for cofferdam installation and removal. There was a request to have that added. We went ahead and added that to the plans. Subsequently, we also added additional details for the installation. So the location of the turbidity curtains are shown on the plan set that you have in front of you. One of the updates made today was to provide additional details of that for the contractor to install and set up. The next comment was address feasibility, infiltration rates, or ability to add suitable material. In general, the area that swale was originally proposed, the town uses that area for accessing the field, and as that area is constantly mowed, so we backtracked from calling that area part of mitigation because of its function and use with the amount of foot traffic that it sees being mowed by the town, entry and access and egress for town vehicles to get behind to the gravel pit and so forth. So this area has been revised to slope and drain back to the pond as needed. So the swale ultimately was removed. To answer the mitigation question specifically, the infiltration question specifically, even if we went ahead and did the swale in that location, due to the high water table and the topography of this area, formal infiltration would not have been feasible here. We believe after revisiting the surface runoff, that sheet flow, which currently exists now with the compacted base that's there, would be sufficient. The increase in area is very minimal for sheet runoff, the parking area in that location. The next question was additional information for seed mix in the swale. As I mentioned previously, tied to the last question, this area would be just standard turf establishment lawn mix that we use for non-wetland areas or non-mitigation or enhancement areas. This is because due to the fact the function of this location, the gate, the access for equipment, materials, mowing, the amount of foot traffic that pedestrians use the area for, going back and forth through the different trails. This will be a normal turf establishment standard lawn seed mix. Next question, millings, on-site storage of asphalt materials. We wanted to eliminate not allow a contractor to do that, I should say. We included notes on the permit plans. I threw out all the sheets of the permit plans that specifically prohibit the contractor from storage of any on-site millings or asphalt material. Any asphalt pavement that's done is brought on site when that operation needs to be done within the sequence of construction, installed, compacted, and there'll be no storage of asphaltic material on site given the proximity of the water bodies. Stockpiling as well. Stockpiling materials on the site will also not be allowed. The contractor would have to stockpile any material on his or her job site, bring to the project as needed for installation. Any excavated material has to be removed when excavated and not stockpiled or stored on the site. Notes for that has been added to the permit plans as well. So those were, in summary, the comments from the November 14th email. And as I mentioned prior to this, the additional comments include plan schedule, identifying that a contractor pre-construction meeting prior to the start of work has to be held with the town staff and engineer to discuss plantings, locations. In addition to that, we provided the contractor with planting dates for spring planting and for fall planting included in the plans. The contractor, prior to doing any of this work, also has to evaluate and make sure, water the plants, make sure none of them are choked or is crowded by canopy from the adjacent tree line. And then just to make sure that we absolutely get exactly what we need from the contractor, 2 weeks prior to doing any of the plantings, we require a follow-up meeting with all the details in place to identify where the plants are going to go. We added notes for them to limit disturbance in the area of mitigation and enhancement. There's some common reed grass in that area that that the wetlands agent and the soil scientists agreed that should also remain. So we don't want to disrupt that area, neither the canopy around that area. So the contractor has specific instructions in the permit plan set to perform the plantings outside of those areas with limited disturbance. Then also I mentioned there were some staff notes to make some minor adjustments to our impact areas that were not previously addressed, that changed our total numbers, but not significantly.
This is Commissioner Boda. Thank you for that. Can you, so I did see the piece about the turbidity control curtain. That's not a, it's not a tool that we've seen very often, or I can't remember ever seeing one for an application. So perhaps we can pull that up and just review what that is, how it works.
Sure.
Do you want to screen share or do you want me to screen share?
I can screen share.
While that's loading and he's pulling up the right page, I do want to just identify that it has come to my attention. OpenGov defaults the attachments to be internal only, and we have to manually make them all public. And there was one that we didn't make public. This should be a learning curve that gets remedied early on in OpenGov. It shouldn't be a repeating problem. So Exhibit 15 looks like it was not visible. So we do have that report, and it was submitted on December 3rd. So we can walk through that afterwards.
Is Commissioner Begmont. Jamie, where are the emails in OpenGov?
So the only email I have in here, I believe, is the one from the follow-up of the last meeting.
Yeah, everything that Mr. Elder was just saying. There's an email in there somewhere?
There's the email that was sent on November 14th that he was responding to verbally.
The information that Mr. Elder was just was talking about. So Jamie sent an email, which I read, and then in the open.gov was the revised site plans, because it says like revised and then it has the date of like when it was last updated. So there was that, and then also the like project narrative. I can't remember the name of the file, but maybe it was like the project narrative or something. Let me see. So that's those were the couple of places that I saw some. Yeah, the project narrative. It was because it was updated today.
Yeah, Commissioner Begmont, I was just looking for the emails. Some in the other system we used to see emails responses, but I didn't see any. So I was just want to make sure I wasn't.
The response. There was a brief response in the email stating attached are the responses.
Okay.
To the materials. I didn't feel that there was any additional information that was necessary in the body of the email, so I didn't make it an exhibit.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, the material that Mr. Elder just went through, you received when?
So we've received 2 rounds of material. We received material. So if you look at the exhibit list, we received material on December 3rd, and then actually, yeah, December 3rd and December 11th.
And guess my follow-up to that is, there were quite a few comments in response to questions that were raised that Mr. Elder just addressed. Have you had time to go through and see those on the plans, on the individual sheets, or is that still something that needs to get done?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I have gone through the sheets and I have looked for the things that were called out on basically I sent the staff report yesterday, which is what drove the submission of revised materials today. And then they also submitted a marked up version of the staff report kind of addressing their comments that and so based on that response, I kind of looked through the materials and looked at those items specifically. So I won't say that I comprehensively reviewed everything, but with the understanding that those were the only things that should have changed, I was able to look at that information.
This is Commissioner Basserman again. So in the area, for instance, of mitigation, Mr. Elder indicated that there would be a pre-mitigation application meeting, etc. Where do I see that? Because on the response to questions, etc., it says the contractor will establish a detailed plan. Is there something more recent than that that documents the fact that there will be a pre-mitigation meeting?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So I believe that information's in 2 different locations. Do we want to review the turbidity curtain while we're here, or do we want to jump to that question? Because I feel like I derailed where we were going by mentioning the missing document.
Fine. Let's get in the order of how the discussion unfolded here. We'll deal with the turbidity comment first.
This is Commissioner Boda. You can answer that question. I have a couple, so we can come back to the turbidity curtain.
Okay, so on the mitigation page of the plans, I believe that there's been additional information added.
Can you just
I would say
that page up? This is Commissioner Boda. Thank you.
as Mr. Elder identified earlier, it does call out for additional details to be provided by the contractor. So we don't have all of the information, I think is fair to say. So I think the commission has to assess whether you have enough information at this time.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think that I saw in a couple of places that there was, there's very like, I'm going to refer to it, it's like this conditional language, like if this, then that. And I'm not sure why it's written that way. Generally, a permit is like, or a permit application is like, this is what we're going to do. This is what our plan is. And some of the language, I don't know. I'm unclear as to why it's conditional and the reason why it has to be conditional.
This is Keegan Elder again, for the record. In certain places and most jobs that are funded by the Department of Transportation, contractors have means and methods for which they proceed with their work. And in general, standard operating procedure for us during design, this project or any other state or federal project, is to come up with a plan from an engineering standpoint that is feasible for the contractor to construct, takes into account the most potentially impactful wetland or cofferdam method that the contractor may elect to employ, and get a permit approved with those impacts in place. Something that's feasible and constructible. The contractor, per the standard specifications for the Department of Transportation, then when he bids the project, he has the option to decide if, for example, he's going to use sandbags, or if he's going to use concrete wrapped in burlap, or if he's going to use sheet piles, or if he's going to use, drill piles with lagging. And he's required to submit that for review and approval, and also stay within the limits of the permit. So the state tries to, and this is standard practice for as long as I've known, tries to give some flexibility to various contractors based on what materials they have on site, what materials they have available to themselves. So in some cases, and I don't know if there's a specific area you want to point out where there are if and statements, but in some cases, if you see that, that's why it's there. We do understand that some commissions are more keen on certain items, for example, different cofferdam types, and for example, the planting schedule and so forth. So we try to shoehorn or capture as much of those as possible in the permit application process to satisfy the commission enough that they can move forward with approving, knowing that ultimately the contractor has some state guidelines to follow, in addition to what other conditions or notes we include within the project. So, in a roundabout way, if there are if and statements in there, they're mainly because the standard specifications that the project is following for this DOT funded job allow for that. It's written in that code.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Boda. Thank you for that clarification. I mean, the area, and the reason why I brought it up now is I'm looking at the mitigation sheet, and in notes we have this 7.10. If compensation is proposed or required, and then it goes on, and then again number 3 at the bottom of that, if compensation is not required. It's just, I do think
So,
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I'll clarify. That's our regulation right there. It's copy
Yeah.
and paste.
those are your notes. Yeah, sorry that the town required that we throw it.
so, but if we're requiring if part of it is that the work is being done, why would it start? Are you saying that the town requires that bullet there, that 7.10, as opposed to just starting at A?
That's a question for either Jamie or
Yeah,
John.
I was asking Jamie.
Sorry. Yep.
So Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I did identify that I thought the commission might want some more information regarding the sequencing of the planting, how the mitigation areas were going to be established, but also the monitoring and maintenance of the areas. So I think this language was added to basically state that monitoring will be compliant with section 7.10. Usually we've got a little bit more information on the means, but I guess copying this language does kind of codify the management of invasive species and 85% survival rate, and that monitoring reports shall be for 5 years, with 6 reports to be submitted. I think my main concern from the implementation of the mitigation areas or the enhancement areas is how the contractor is planning on removing the phragmites and planting the shrubs and trees within the mitigation area on the, I believe it's southwest side of the bridge. I don't know if the commission is comfortable with acknowledging the fact that it says a plan shall be created and having that as a condition of approval, that plan must be submitted for review and approval prior to start a site work, or if that's something that you feel you need during the review of the application.
This is Commissioner Basserman,
You just pull up, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
You're on the mitigation sheet. It is
Yeah.
really helpful if, well, I'm not missing something, right? Like, if we're all looking at I have a map open, but if we can all look at the same thing.
What part of the mitigation sheet are you trying to look at?
Are you sharing your screen right now? Because all I see is people.
Elderman is sharing his screen.
Why don't I see his screen? That's weird. Okay, let me come back in a second because I don't see his screen. I only see, okay, now I have it. So the piece that you were talking about with the Phragmites. The Phragmites removal.
That would be in the wetland enhancement / mitigation area, located kind of in the upper left-hand corner of the plan.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Begeman. Jamie, it seems like when I was reading through it, there might be other times when this comes back to us for approval for various things.
I think that I'm not sure when it says must be approved, like who the plans are referring to, because there are multiple permitting agencies involved.
Yeah.
So I think that if there's something that the commission specifically wants to see, that should be identified to remove any question.
This is Commissioner Begeman. To back up even further, I have a question about how the area of mitigation or invasive treatment was calculated, and because my understanding is that we're going to have in this plan a 16-foot wide bridge with wing walls that go directly into the water that are about 169 feet total on each side of the road, with no earth and no plants in that section. And yet in one of the maps, it was dashed yellow as mitigation area or something.
I think you're referring to the invasive species management plan, which I think is a state deliverable.
So did they get, Commissioner Begeman, do they get credit for invasive management for that area? Because in terms of the destruction to the wetland area and then the mitigation, if they're getting credit for taking out.
We're not counting that in our review. I don't know how the state looks at it. So what we're looking at right now, the mitigation plan, is what the numbers provided for the 2-to-1, 1-to-1, I think is 1.4 to 1 is what we've settled on, or what is currently being proposed, is based on this plan here. It does not account for the invasive species management area shown on that invasive species plan. So I kind of get what you're saying. I mean, that plan includes areas that are road. So yes, you'll be successful in not having invasive species where you have asphalt. But also is not really providing a benefit. But to that end, it's not part of the consideration in the mitigation.
And
Other than the fact that you need to maintain invasive species management in the areas where you are providing mitigation.
And Commissioner Begemon, so that area, what there's like the ecologist or wetland soil scientist, she talked about it as the narrow wetland on either side of the road on both the east and west side of the pond. The removal of all that land was calculated in the area of disturbance, and so that when you're doing the 1.4 to 1, you counted the loss of all of that land and trees and bushes.
It might be easier to look at the wetland impact.
Commissioner Begemon, my interest is that we're getting that the wetlands is getting repaired in the 1.4 to 1, because there's a significant loss of.
It will be a modification for sure. So there will be more open water habitat environment than there will be, wetland fringe. So the mitigation includes some of the areas where there will be some increase in or conversion of existing conditions. So like the span of the culvert's increasing. So you're going to have more water course in that location where you currently have the abutments for the current bridge. So the green on this they're showing is temporary impacts. That's going to be where the water is dewatered behind the coffer dam while they're doing construction. The blue areas where the wing walls are is the permanent impact. So in that green area, there will be some modification to some extent. It's kind of hard to tell at this scale, but from wetland edge to more of a open water condition.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Begemon. That's a significant ecological impact, right, to the wetland. That you're losing that number of feet on both sides of the bridge of the interface between land and
Open water.
road. Between water and road. We're losing that wetland, and so that's a hardening of like a shoreline. So that's what I was hoping to ask, like the soil scientists, in terms of the environmental impact of that, and how do we make up for that impact by improving some other areas? The mitigation of the loss of that wetland, unless they're counting just open water that meets a concrete wall. The addition. That's if that's a 1-to-1, which I don't think. I think that. So
I think it would be hard pressed to kind of reestablish current day conditions under today's standards, because we've got the increase in road width, but also kind of the standard. The trees that are growing on that causeway, I'm not saying they don't have value by any means, but I'm saying they're going to have a higher turnover than trees anywhere else in the supply, not anywhere else, but most other places in the supply pond, because they have a very limited area in which they can grow, particularly before they're going to be negatively impacting the road or the bridge. So if you wanted to create a wetland shelf area adjacent to the bridge, you would have to create it into the ponds. And
Commissioner Begemon, I think that, when they talked about the alternatives, one of them said a guide rail with sloped embankment that would cause more wetland disturbance or impact, but we didn't talk about that, and or the soil scientist wasn't here to talk about that alternative. So,
What was the old, sorry?
So this is Keegan Elder here. I can speak to that alternative a bit more, Commissioner. So that alternative includes, instead of a 2-foot wall, that alternative includes guide rail and shelf to slope. Now, the shelf for the guide rail is approximately 4 feet at a 12-to-1 slope, and then the slope beyond that would be a 2-to-1 slope. So if you can follow my cursor, so instead of this wall being here with impacts to the wetlands, permanent right here in blue, temporary out here in green, you would be going out at a 12-to-1 for 4 feet out to approximately where my cursor is, and then sloping down 2-to-1 to tie back into the channel. So your impacts would now extend almost out to the approximate street line. Significantly more impacts to the pond and resource for installation of the guide rail, and similar on all 4 corners if you did that option.
Keegan, can you zoom in a little bit, because you've got the mean high, the water line on there, and I think that would be helpful for the commissioners in review of kind of where that intersects these temporary areas of disturbance. Because
Commissioner Boda, I'm just, I guess, to Commissioner Begeman's concern, was there any consideration for including emergent vegetation, since those trees are coming down in that part of the pond?
Well, the trees are not necessarily coming down in the pond. Those are on
No. Those were on the further right side of the screen. Right, there's some trees that were going to be removed. Where it says approximately where it says state wetlands, approximate street line, somewhere in that area. And we had talked about, there's this kind of corner right there where there's already some emergent vegetation. In the summer, there's a lot of eutrophication, so it does get very algae laden. But I'm curious if there was any consideration to adding additional emergent vegetation in the area of where trees are coming down, as they're also, they're not going to provide the same kind of shading function, but they still provide some services that may offset a little bit of the impact.
Yes, so Keegan Elder again here for the record. So the soil scientists did review these areas and recommended these plantings that are shown here, also in this area that's on the southerly side of the or easterly side of the project, sorry. In addition to this area as well, in review of the canopy and what we could do to help mitigate or alleviate the loss of a few trees in the area of the walls and the bridge. So they're shown in this location, and then also in this corner. I did talk with her again today, soil scientist, and she mentioned, if we wanted to, and I spoke with John Hofferly before he left the office yesterday, and if we wanted, the commission wanted to add a few more trees along this area, we could do that as well. But we're sort of limited, as we discussed at the last meeting, given the proximity of the pond to the roadway. The roadway requirements for this funding and the guide rail and shelf requirements were pretty tight and limited with how far we can go with planting trees and restoring the canopy while still doing the due diligence of the Department of Transportation as far as roadway width, sidewalk, wall location, wall heights, and so forth. So we sort of had a meeting of the minds with the soil scientists and came up with these additional areas for canopy on these three corners, in addition to what's shown further up. And to tie back to the water course creation, and not to minimize it, but something Jamie mentioned earlier is we have an existing culvert that's increasing significantly, providing more water course in this area. The soil scientists did also bring up that given the vast nature of the pond and coverage around the entire pond, upstream and downstream, that she felt that this area for mitigation was pretty much the best we can do as far as plantings go, and didn't feel that it was as critical an impact as if you were to do this work throughout the entire pond. This area is paved, there's a roadway, there's a lot of traffic, foot traffic through here now. There are a few trees scattered about this area, but it's not a fully grown area of trees like the remainder of the pond. But we're doing a lot to sort of help restore whatever damage we do to that area, while keeping in mind the codes and regulations for replacing a failing bridge.
This is Commissioner Begman. Thanks for going over the alternative, because that explains, I understand in terms of the impact of going further out and et cetera into the pond. In terms of, just so that I'm clear, there will be no vegetation, correct? From where the wing walls start to where they end.
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I have a question about drainage from the road and erosion, but I don't want to go into that until if people have more questions about the vegetation.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Basserman. You know, we looked at a number of projects regarding mitigation, and unfortunately, we've had a lot of learning experiences. I guess my concern is, and Jamie, I don't know if this is maybe a question more for you. When we say contractor, you know, I think we've seen as part of those learning experiences that the, you know, quality of the individual who is supervising the installation of the material and the frequency of the monitoring for self-correction, et cetera, was important. Did we deal with that as a condition of approval, or did we want to see that as part of the, you know, plan that got permitted?
I think it's typical for the commission to want to see it as part of the plans that are being reviewed.
This is Commissioner Boda. I will second that. I had that as one of my notes, that on the mitigation sheet, it says contractor will remove invasives, and I do want that updated to specify a wetland scientist or ecologist or other qualified person shall do the
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I do want to identify that it does say contractor shall hire botanist or some sort of professional. I might list a couple different kinds, but still, I mean, at the end of the day, on a private project, the commission would want to see that information. So I don't know how we say we don't want to see it for this project.
I think that it does. This is Commissioner Boda. I think that there are instances where a little bit of ambiguity is helpful for flexibility. And as the chairman just noticed, we have learned from very painful mistakes that too much ambiguity allows for people to say sorry versus may I, and that sorry comes at the cost of some pretty significant environmental impact that the purpose of the application was to avoid. So I would prefer clarity.
Yeah, so this is Keegan Elder, just to clarify sort of a macro level item that is going to be hinged on the approval of the local permit. We would request, and based on my conversations with John, we would request that specifics pertaining to who performs work or anything that the contractor is required to do. We would request that those items be handled with conditions of approval of the permit. The main reason we would request that is in order to get a contractor on board who's contractor XYZ who's going to build this project, we have to go out to bid, obviously, on the job. In order to go out to bid, the state won't let us do that until we have all our permits in place. Furthermore, we have to submit to the Army Corps of Engineers our self-verification notification and Deep 401 water quality permit, neither of which can be submitted until local approval. So it's sort of a chasing your tail. Ultimately, not to overstep my bounds, but ultimately what we need from the commission is to make sure that these plans did their due diligence to identify and address the wetlands, the impacts to the wetlands, and limit those in as much feasible as possible, and add any comments that the commission would like to see incorporated. Waiting for a contractor to submit a plan is a project stopper. The project cannot move forward until we have a permit approval. We cannot get a contractor without that. It's not like a local non-state funded project. The procedures are a little bit different for this type of project.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, I guess the important issue is that the detail associated with how the mitigation plan is going to be enacted is what's important here. It would seem to me if we could do that as part of the condition, I think we probably met the measure as opposed to, having it more loosely defined as it's currently stipulated. Are you okay with dealing with this as a condition of approval?
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. I think we're at the threshold of enough information, particularly trying to be respectful of the fact that there's other permitting agencies that are involved, that's a possibility if the commission's open to it. I think my main concern, like I said, is to put that area in the upper left corner. And I think the main concern really is not knowing how they're planning to remove the phragmites. Is it going to be cut? Is it going to be cut and spray? Is it going to be excavate the upper soils? It does say in the materials minimum ground disturbance. So to me, that implies that they're planning on mechanical or chemical means. So one possibility would be to say that, that information has to be submitted for review just to make sure that there's no outstanding concerns. Yeah. I mean, the biggest concern I would have is contractor doesn't know much about plants, cuts, sprays, plants all in span of 2 days. And then we have dead shrubs.
Yeah, I don't like anything that says imply.
Yeah. And this is Commissioner Bona. That particular field is it is I understand there's a lot of foot traffic there. I spent a bit of time in that field, and it is not mowed super regularly because it is such a rich habitat. And so broadcast spraying that, like, there's as Jamie was just talking about, the variety of methods, the variety of treatments that can be done there can have quite a deleterious effect. So I don't want to be casual about how that work is done or flippant.
This is Keegan Elder again for the record. Included in the narrative is the specification on guidelines for the removal of invasive species in the project. And it goes into depth the requirements of a botanist on site, marking areas out prior to, before the work is done for the engineer review and approval, methods to perform that work, a control plan that has to be submitted 21 days prior to, prepared by a qualified botanist. So I would suggest that you review that document and
no, this is Commissioner Boda. I have reviewed that.
Okay.
You're talking about the yes. I'm looking at it right now, and I would agree that there is
a contractor who doesn't know what they're doing based on what this specification required, and it's not like like I mentioned earlier. It's not a local project where you have a private developer, willy-nilly doing what he wants. This project being funded with state funds, the contractor has to follow these requirements or the job doesn't move forward. They don't get paid for the work and the work isn't done. So it's pretty cut and dry on how things need to get done and need to get done by qualified personnel.
Certainly. This is Commissioner Boda. This is, it's got, I don't know, 10 bullets or so. But even these bullets lack a level of specificity. So it's application of herbicide shall be in accordance with all laws and regulations by licensed applicator. Okay. So I don't know. I think that's just, and maybe that is something that we can do as part of a condition, but it's certainly atypical. And given this particular application and all of the agencies, maybe that is okay. But it's atypical.
This is Commissioner Basserman, and I mean, normally would see those things on a plan sheet itself as opposed to incorporated within, a project narrative, so that there's no question as whoever is doing the job, has all the information on the appropriate sheet, as opposed to something that's covered in a separate kind of document.
Yes, I agree with you, Commissioner. The reason we included the specification in the narrative is to provide the commission with a concise document of all the other documents that are included in the project. So another sort of tidbit to open your eyes to show you how this process works. The permit plans and permit approvals are included in the bid package for the contractor's review. So any notes that are included in the permit plan, permit set, any permit approvals or conditions are all included in the bid documents and specification package for the contractor. He's going to get a package with construction plans that has all the details, the steel, the the everything else, the engineering that goes into this bridge. He's also going to get specifications that are different from what the DOT has in their Bible. The DOT has what's called a standard specification form 818 or 819 at this point, which is a handbook on all construction items, what it involves, how to construct it. That's our civil engineering guideline for constructing projects. Outside of those, we have special provisions which include the invasive removal, which include the seed mix, which include the turbidity control curtains, which are not atypical items in the Bible that we add specifications for in the contract. So all of these documents, if you were to try to put them all on the plans, would be pretty crowded. But in the Form 818 or 819, the standard specification, it gives the contractor a hierarchy of things they have to follow. Anything in the plans, anything on the specs, anything in the permit plans, permit conditions, permit approvals. And if the contractor varies to do anything outside those limits or rights of way acquired or permitted limits, he has to then submit again to the commission for review and approval. Any change that he wants to make from any document that you set forth, the permit, the conditions. When we go to deep, they're going to have their conditions. The Army Corps already gave us, we'll have more from them as well. We have conditions from the Department of Fisheries, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, NDDB. They all have conditions for how the contractor goes about his work that is included in the package that they must follow.
Thank you. Any commissioner have anything else on mitigation? Are there other outstanding questions or comments from the commission for Mr. Elder?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Armstrong. Yeah, I have a question in general. What's the universe of contractors who do this type of work?
How many are there? Or
yeah, how many are there that they would be qualified to do what we have been discussing here with the Chestnut Street Bridge?
I would say there are probably a couple dozen in the state. What we do in the bid documents as well is require that the contractor submit at least 5 years experience with similar type projects for all reference. So basically what happens is we go out to bid. There's a bid period of 28 days. Various contractors grab the plans and specs, review, and propose a bid. Part of the package would say, if you have a structure of this size, structure of that size, that contractor has had experience with handling water methods of this nature, structure of this size, and they have to provide 5 references. If that contractor has the low bid and the town reviews the references and is satisfied that this contractor can perform the work, they award the project to the contractor. If the contractor fails to satisfy those requirements, the town has the option of moving to the next bidder or someone who is qualified to do the work. But I would say in the state, roughly a couple dozen contractors. Some of the bigger firms out there are pretty capable of doing projects like these. They don't always go to small jobs like this, but we've seen on various projects between 12 to 15 contractors bidding on projects. It also depends on when you go out to bid. A lot of contractors right now are gathering work or bidding on work for 2026. So if you delay in getting it out to bid until, let's say, February, you might get a smaller pool because most of the contractors have bid on projects and filled up on what they have. Or those who missed out on other jobs sometimes would say, all right, let's bid on these last 2. So the pool you get varies, but there are quite a few that do this kind of work.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Boda. I just want to return to the turbidity curtain for a minute. Can you, I know it said, again, it had that kind of standard language around using the guidance from the company that makes the turbidity curtain. But we don't have a lot of call for these. So can you talk about the amount in terms of total suspended solids, the particulate size? Can you talk a little bit about Are there any downsides to using this kind of method in terms of trapping organisms in one place or another, et cetera?
Okay, yep. So, without getting into the science of it,
No, please get into the, I'm asking you to get into the science of it, and that would be great.
Yep. So I've limited knowledge on the extra details of it, but what I could say is, number one, when we start work or when the contractor starts work on this site, the first thing that he does, set up his erosion sedimentation control and begins the removal of the existing deck and roadway surface area. So species within the area generally would move away or migrate to other parts of the pond, which is very large, given the amount of noise that's in the area. Then the contractor would then install the turbidity control curtains. Now the curtains do a really good job when I've seen them in use, as long as they're properly installed and reviewed weekly, also after storm events, to make sure they haven't gotten dislodged. They function pretty well in trapping suspended solids. Any disturbance that occurs within, they do a pretty good job of capturing. It's basically an anchored curtain down to the bottom with a flotation device that traps any sediment or disturbance in that area. Once the turbidity curtains are in, the contractor then has to install the cofferdam within the turbidity control curtains. That would be the most disruptive of the work. These cofferdams are installed, the area is dried, and work begins. While work is going on, the amount of disturbance or turbidity is pretty much minimal. I'd say the most disruptive part would be the installation of the cofferdams themselves, given how deep the pond is and the methods we discussed last week, being either driven piles or drilled piles with lagging. That would be the most disturbance, which will be critical. I think it was a good idea to definitely include the curtains on that. So I'm not sure what other portion of it has ambiguity, but that's pretty much in a nutshell kind of how it's installed, how it works, when it's used, and how it functions.
So this is Commissioner Boda. When they are finished and they're removing the turbidity curtain, I'm visualizing that it is that curtain, the curtain piece, is some very fine, like, I don't know, synthetic, like a vinyl or something mesh. Is that a safe description?
It's meant to hold. I've seen them more plasticky almost, where it traps most of the sediment.
So that's that's leading to my question, which is it, so when they go and whether they, I don't know, they pull it to shore to get it out? Do they lift it up? Like, what happens to the so now during this process, let's say that there is sediment that is in the water column that's been kicked up, maybe during the time of construction, after the cofferdam's been put in, it settles back down. Now they take the cofferdam back out and the sediment is resuspended. Now they're going to go, the project is done. They're going to take this curtain out. Are you saying that the curtain is holding on to that sediment that was suspended, or is the process of taking the curtain out going to resuspend anything that had settled? Do you follow my question?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to resettle anything that was attached to it. I think generally how it works is in some locations, maybe right at the culvert, it gets pulled towards shore, towards the dry and pulled out. But there's a portion of the construction that, it involves insulation and removal, and that portion, you don't leave a turbidity control curtain in place to take out the old curtain. You get what I'm kind of trying to get at here?
No, not that last part.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is once he's done and he starts pulling it to the shore,
Yeah.
there is some disturbance there from lifting the anchor,
Yeah.
but that's about it. There's no secondary measure to stop those minor disturbances.
Okay. And anything, when is this is Commissioner Bodo, remind me again of the window of work?
So the window, so that's a great question. The installation of the cofferdam based on fisheries, he's not allowed to install or remove cofferdams between March 15th and June 1st because of the heron migration. He's not allowed to do anything between sunset and sunrise. Nocturnal fish migration between March 15th and June 30th. Yes, so those are our restricting periods for any work installation of the cofferdam and removal of those.
This is Commissioner Begeman, just to point out that on the plan for where it talks about time restrictions, which I think might be on the page with the suggested construction sequence, it only lists one time restriction. And I don't know if you could put all of them, because if it's nighttime work, it's something else, and if it's daytime work. So, but when there's just one listed, if I were somebody, I would think I might make the mistake that this was the only time restriction, but it's not. And
yeah, you can certainly do that.
The other thing I noticed is that in this suggested construction sequence, you were just talking about when to put in the curtains. And I know they were added to the plan, but I don't see anything in terms of the timing of that part in your construction sequence that's on the plan.
Yep, so those would be included in those other sequences that are listed in the narrative.
In the narrative?
Also in the specifications, but we'll add those to the plan sheets as well. But the fisheries comments get included in section 1.08, the environmental compliance, notice the contractor. Those also appear in there, but we'll add them to the plans as well.
And this is Commissioner Begeman. I want to go back to the question of the runoff from the road on the bridge, if we can do that at some point.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. My question had to do with, my understanding is that the road, if the water's just going to sheet flow to the sides, and there are going to be those walls on each side of the bridge that keep pedestrians from falling into the pond and cars from going in. And then it'll run down each side and sheet flow into the pond. And there'll be some grading in certain areas. What's to prevent the erosion from that runoff?
So beyond the wing walls, the
Yes.
installation, so we have guide rail, there's a process aggregate base for that sort of 4-foot shelf for the guide rail I mentioned earlier. If you see on most state projects or most bridge projects where the guide rail starts at the end of the bridge, that first run of guide rail has that process aggregate base under it. And what that does, it works for two purposes. One purpose is it alleviates, erosion in those areas, but also we try to limit the amount of turf growing in those areas because it's difficult for the town to maintain, or municipalities or the state to maintain. So the standard detail for guide rail shows right at the ends of the bridges, all four corners must be protected by guide rail per the highway design manual, and that guide rail base for the installation includes that process aggregate base. In some cases, if you have a pretty steep roadway with a lot of runoff coming down, I've seen some contractors elect to use a bigger size stone, like a modified rounded riprap, just to stabilize those areas to avoid a lot of erosion. But in our scenario, this is pretty flat and relatively gentle as far as the gradient is concerned.
And Commissioner Begelman, so then at where those guide rails are, there's going to be crushed stone underneath it.
Yeah.
And then between the crushed stone and the water, nothing? It'll go right down to the water? Or in some areas, there may be some of those new plantings?
In some areas, there's some of the new plantings. In other areas, we have the wetland seed mix beyond that for the slow portion, especially when you're around the pond. And areas not near the pond, generally if you didn't have a pond there, you would do standard turf establishment on that 2-to-1 slope beyond the shelf. But areas where we're in the wetland, we try to mitigate that with a wetland seed mix.
Commissioner Begelman, I'm just thinking because it's getting close to winter, and before all the snow and anything that was on there would sheet flow through a lot of area, right? Just to the edge of the road where it was. And now it's going to be going, longer. There's going to be more of a concentration of whatever's in that water to those areas where it first meets the pond. And I don't know if the water runoff has been calculated, kind of things we're used to dealing with are dealing with the first 1.5 inch of stormwater, first 1.3 inches of stormwater, and knowing, there's whatever, it's all been calculated. Maybe that's been calculated for the road runoff. I saw in the northeast, there's a temporary sedimentation something or other trap. I don't know if it's temporary or permanent, but it's noted. Like a catch basin, maybe. I don't know if that's permanent or not.
No, that's are you talking about the pumping and settling basin?
It's Jamie, I don't know. I'm looking at not the right page. So
I think it's the dewatering. You're looking at.
It's on the northeast.
Close settling.
This? Yeah, so this is a pumping and settling basin. This is a temporary structure.
That's temporary. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And that's meant to any sediment, back to the other commissioner's question, any sediment or water that's pumped out of the cofferdam has to go through this settling basin as well before it's discharged to get rid of the sediment. As far as the runoff goes, it was calculated that sheet flow would be sufficient in this location. Again, it's the area has not increased significantly. The distance that it can gather did increase somewhat, but the runoff did not precipitate the need for adding permanent catch basins. Number one. Number two, the elevation of the existing pond water surface elevations don't make it conducive to install permanent structures, which
Right.
require a certain amount of cover, and then outlet on the water would be constantly underflow and backfilled into the structure. So they would almost serve no purpose on this site, given how close the water surface is to the finished grade. The slope runoff, as we showed, and the grading of the area was meant to in conjunction with, I mentioned, the crushed stone and so forth, process base, to all alleviate those erosion and sheet flow concerns.
Yeah, Commissioner Bagwan, yes. And so in the northeast, the very far lower right of, where that wing wall B, whatever, 2B ends, that's where where that temporary pumping station is. That's where those new plants are going to go. And they're going to be being hit with toxins, more concentrated toxins than the plants had earlier, because it was dissipated, right? There's much more of much larger area where that water could go. So let's hope they survive. I'm a little bit doubtful about how a little concerned, I should say, about how successful that area will be. And then we would have more erosion if they don't survive.
Yeah, I could see if I find some of the other projects we've done in similar type scenarios where there were plantings, and share some pictures with the commission, see how it's developed over the years. We've been doing this for a pretty long time. If it's done right and it's done correctly, the success rate for regrowth is there. The state would not mandate it in their specifications and give guidelines for bridge replacements if it didn't work.
This is Commissioner Goflowski. Mr. Elder, these diapers on the post, whose call was that to put those in? I mean, I think it's a pretty smart idea. I just think those particular items are going to control based on this. I know this area pretty well, and I think that's going to be a big help for the erosion control that we're concerned about.
Yeah. No, this was a comment by one of the commissioners, I believe, at the last meeting, to include the turbidity control curtains. And I agree that was a good call, something that was lacking on the previous submittal, as sort of alleviate some of the sediment that would get dredged up as part of construction. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, the staff report that was prepared for this evening looks like it probably needs some update. Is that a fair statement, or are you comfortable with the document as it was prepared for this commission to consider?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So the staff report, like I said, the applicant submitted a marked up staff report with some response to comments. The staff report that I prepared for this night's meeting did not have conditions for approval, consideration for conditions. Right. I don't generally do that until after the commission's closed the public hearing and given me some direction as to where they want things to be. That being said, I mean, if the commission is thinking about starting to kind of head in that direction, I have some thoughts, but I also realize that there's been a lot of information to digest, and I don't know where the commission has landed, or if they have landed on whether or not there's sufficient information. There's been a lot of information, a lot of comments that information can be provided. I'm not sure as to the timing of that information, whether, you know, we're looking at continuation and submission for the next meeting, or like the applicant has requested, looking at conditions of approval.
This is Commissioner Gopowski. I think with all the outside other agencies that are looking at this project, and based on the timing situation of it being put out to bid and actually work being constructed, I mean, between DEP and the state, I mean, I'm sure they've had their eyes on this project pretty closely. And the bridge has got to get fixed. I mean, or they're just going to close the road down. I mean, you know, I mean, they've gone through great lengths to prevent any issues that are coming. So that's my 2 cents.
Looks like Olivia Sandberg has her hand raised.
Olivia Sandberg, Inland Wetlands staff. Before the commission makes any decisions, I know, Jamie, you said there was a file that wasn't open, that wasn't available for anyone to see, and I just want to make sure that that's reviewed.
Thank you for that reminder. Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. Let me screen share that real quick. So Jennifer Beno with Soil Science and Environmental Services Inc. They go out, and like Keegan mentioned, that they've had some conversations. I also met with Jennifer out at the site, and she's had some conversations with Keegan and reviewed some revised mitigation that obviously the commission has also been looking at this evening, and these are generally her comments based on her observations out on the site and review of those revised materials. I'll just give commissioners a couple minutes to read it. No? And or identify what you want to do.
We have a lot of information that came in last minute here.
Yeah.
And for us to consider a project like this with the impact on the wetlands,
yeah,
the mitigation issues, etc., I'm not feeling a rush to close this thing tonight.
I do think it would be beneficial if the commission, I know that we've already been on this topic for an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. If you can take a quick look at it to see if there's any additional things. Because I think if we're requesting a continuance, we need to be able to summarize all of the information that we're looking for.
This is Commissioner Boda. Just a thought, which is, I don't think in my experience with the hearings and how we've done things in the past that we would render a decision this evening, right? Like, we don't have a full report. We don't have the conditions lined up. Typically, our process is to kind of get those ducks in a row, send it back, and then at the next meeting, make a decision. And given that information, or given that practice, I think we could still go through that process of identifying what are the things that we need to have, things that would be part of, we would look for as a condition, but that would also give the applicant some additional time to potentially provide a little bit more of the detail regarding things like the frag removal that would be typical in a plan. Then for the next meeting, we could potentially close the hearing quickly. We can make a decision the same night we can close, or no, Jamie?
Yeah, and I can have some draft conditions drafted up for consideration that I can kind of edit on the fly. Not gonna lie, I was kind of doing that this evening in case you were prepared to go that direction.
Yeah, because this is Commissioner Boda. I agree that this replacement is necessary. I understand that there are multiple agencies involved. I also, from experience and from education, know that all of our purviews are really different from each other. And that the Army Corps of Engineers is not necessarily going to be looking at the same thing that a local inland wetland commission is going to be looking for, nor is the state DEP. We all have our own purview, so we want to make sure that the part that is our purview, that we're doing our due diligence and a good job. So I would be amenable to, I think, Jamie, you've already started this list of stuff that needs to be addressed. Us identifying those things, the applicant going back and potentially adding some more meat on the bones regarding the mitigation plan so that we could take a closer look. And then we'd be able to close and vote on this application at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Where are the other commissioners on the issue of continuation as opposed to trying to close this tonight? I'd like to hear from everyone.
Commissioner Armstrong, I'm in favor of the continuance to get the additional information.
Commissioner Bengman, I agree.
This is Commissioner Sotomayor. I agree as well. It would be in our favor to have some more time to review and the information that was received late this week.
Commissioner Gokowski, I feel the same.
All right.
Okay,
Jamie
is
Frederick.
is the applicant amenable to that?
Yes, Keegan Eller for the record. Yes, whatever the commission needs from us to move forward towards an approval, we'll be amenable.
All right.
All right, this is Commissioner Bassman. Do we need to now go through that list, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Keegan, if you can send me an email just stating in writing that you confirm to continuation of the public hearing to the January 8th meeting, that would be great. So we've got the mitigation plan, which would include invasive species as well, mitigation plan for implementation and monitoring, I'm assuming. Some minor revisions to include all time restrictions on the site plan, include timing for installation of the turbidity curtain. I think those are the main things. I know we also talked a little bit about stormwater, and I think the applicant has provided some information on some of the challenges in trying to accommodate stormwater in this particular retrofit. Is there any outstanding information that the commissioners are looking for in that regard?
I think there was also, this Commissioner Basserman, kind of trying to transfer some of the detail that's incorporated in the plan narrative onto the individual plan sheets. If we could do that, I think that would be, good for the commission to be able to review it in its context as opposed to in a separate document. Jamie, this is Commissioner Bassman again. Did you mention the frag issue, the removal?
Yeah, I think that's comprehensive into the mitigation plan, implementation, and monitoring. And if the applicant team wants to set up a meeting next week to run through it, I'm more than happy to meet.
This is Commissioner Basserman. How does I don't know, given the town issue, how does bonding work for the monitoring, et cetera? Is that off the table here, or?
I mean, the bond is held by the town. I think, so I think, and maybe this is a good question. I did have this question. So my understanding is, generally speaking, the town would have some bonds from the contractor doing the work to make sure the contractor's doing the work as permitted, and we end up with the product that we want at the end of the project. So I do believe that there will probably be a performance bond required from the contractor doing the work, and I think it makes sense to make sure, if possible, and I can request this as a follow-up, that performance bond not be released until the mitigation has been installed.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Boda. I would like to add one more thing. So with the turbidity curtain, Mr. Elder, you spoke about the process in general. If you could, I know that's not your area of expertise, but go back and look for some of those specifications in terms of the size of particulate removal, because I don't know the particulate size that we're aiming for, and I think that would be helpful to be included with the specification. Some minimal total removal or some minimum particulate size.
And this is Commissioner Begman with the turbidity curtains. We probably need to know if there are any Department of Transportation restrictions on use them, or that they should be, I don't know, maintained and inspected according to, there might be standard operating procedures for turbidity curtains or best management practices. It seems like we should know something about that too.
Some of that is in, this is Commissioner Boda, some of that is in there. It just,
in the narrative, but
yeah, it just says to reference the, the company, whatever, directions that come from the company.
This is Commissioner
Jamie
Bass.
Frederick, the wetland agent. The sediment and erosion control guidelines for the state of Connecticut also has some general information, and I'm pretty sure that there's some standard language stating that it shall be where all work should be compliant with the sediment and erosion control guidelines, and it does get into monitoring and maintenance and things like that.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Basserman. As just a curiosity more than anything else, but if it's not a mesh, the turbidity curtain, and it's more of a plastic sheen, what holds the particulates from sliding off?
I will add the pages from the sediment and erosion control guidelines as an exhibit so that all of you can have some exciting reading over the holiday season.
I think this is Commissioner Boda. I think Mr. Elder needs to show up with a sample turbidity curtain
or
and do a show and tell. That would be great.
I personally don't have turbidity control curtains.
I'm sure they'd send you a sample. They'd be happy to.
Yeah, the contractors generally purchase those. What I show you might not even be what he's using. So I would not be able to bring you a turbidity curtain for Christmas.
Anything else on this item, Jamie?
Only confirmation that we're continuing it to January 8th.
So moved. We're going to move the the application for the Chestnut Street Bridge to the January, is it 8th?
January 8th meeting, which will be held remotely.
Which is our next regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you for your participation this evening, Mr. Elder.
Yep, thank you very much. Jamie, you'll send me your list. I just sent you the authorization for the continuance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Yeah. All right, next item on our agenda. What did I do with it? Is item 250903. It's an application for review. 42 Silver Street, construction of a two-family home, and the second floor second floor addition to an existing garage and another dwelling unit. We have a staff report on this one. Anything that you want to address, Jamie, before we have the applicant make comment?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. There is in fact an updated staff report in response to revised materials received earlier this week. The applicant has provided stormwater calculations, and they also revised the stormwater plan to kind of address more aspects of the site, and also to add in a rain garden for the request for consideration request of the commission. And they also have added some signs along the limited disturbance closest to the wetland, so that visually on site, there's a reminder that activities would have to be reviewed by the commission. Quick highlights. I'll let the applicant take it away.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Jamie, I have a question on the staff report that's dated 12/11. That's the one that we're using?
I think it's revised 12/10 for the 12/11 meeting.
Okay. Could this be right or a typo? Soil scientist was Richard Snorsky, but date of investigation September 27, 2016.
No, so it's located off-site, the wetland, so it is actually 2016.
Okay.
I was getting ready for what craziness I may have done. Yeah, it's an off-site wetland
Okay.
delineation.
I just, that kind of stuck out. So that's all. Thank you.
Yep.
And who is here for the applicant?
VP Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street, Branford. We presented this not at the last meeting, the meeting before.
Yep.
It was for additional building for a duplex, two residential units. There were a few items toward the end of the meeting that were requested. As Jamie said, I'll put the map up. Hopefully you're looking at the map. So there was a few things that were requested. We showed that we added the stockpile location. We added posts just inside the silt fence location in the back for the inland wetland placards. We did when I offered the rain garden, there's some exciting response to that. So I did change the infiltrators that we had on this side of the driveway to a rain garden, which will also, generally collect rain that's coming off of this hill, minimizing what does in fact run onto the driveway. We did add some galleys in the lower section for the existing roofs that have been there for many years, and also a catch basin in the edge of the driveway so that some of the water that gets missed and comes down the driveway will get collected and slowed down by the concrete galleys we installed. We did run a full run of stormwater calculations through the 100-year storm, and to show that we're not increasing the runoff. The town engineer has reviewed it and had no further comments, and I'm hopeful that we've addressed all yours and we could move on from here.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Mr. Preddy, under the landscaping, it says no landscape plan provided. Is there none needed? Is that the assessment?
For residential stuff, a lot of times it's not required. If the Planning and Zoning Commission requires it, it turns out that Jamie will be reviewing it also for both. So, and it would just be some foundation plantings around the new house, really. There's quite a bit of vegetation around the outside of this property that we're leaving alone, so the buffer plantings won't really be necessary.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Questions from the commission for Mr. Preddy?
This is Commissioner Begemon. Last time I was talking about the amount of pavement that this developed area has for this two-family house, and it still seems really like a large amount to me. And In Chapter 5 of the Stormwater Manual with the low impact development, it talks about reducing pavement and having things like a rain garden instead of infiltration, and trying to do the low impact development to the maximum possible. And I'm just wondering, as a commissioner, what influence do we have as a commission? And this is probably a question for Jamie, in terms of a proposal like this, which could have a total gravel driveway. It could have many other things. So it could perhaps have a swale in the back instead of an infiltration system. So I'm just wondering, what are our abilities to, approve something that works as this is, but it has a higher impact on the land and the water than a possible other scenario, like a feasible alternative with gravel and with swales, or.
Yeah, Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. So the Stormwater Quality Manual definitely says that design consideration shall be given, and weights it as a preferred option. And I think that's part of how we ended up with the rain garden. Now, I mean, guess that's not to say that that's the maximum extent possible, but I mean, you're welcome to ask the applicant if they've considered other things. It doesn't raise to like a prudent and feasible alternative analysis, I would say, like significant wetland impact would, but and of course the commission doesn't get into designing projects, but you can always ask if they've considered. Our regulations don't require any considerations regarding beyond management of stormwater and treating water quality, volume, retention, and things like that. So are you asking me or are you asking the applicant?
So, Commissioner Bergman, then in a follow-up, so...
can I add just one thing? This is Commissioner Boda. I think to your question, I think the other thing that we're hemmed in by, or not hemmed in by, but acts as a guide rail, is the likely impact to a wetland or water course. And so that we don't shift our focus to all environmental impact, and regardless of what's happening or what the outcome might be, try to make applications as get a gold environmental stamp to them, but rather that they just cannot negatively impact a wetland or water course. So that's the other boundary.
Yeah,
Jamie Frederick. That's a very...
Commissioner Bergman, I'm just thinking that this property is right at it's what, 20 feet away from, or at the back, maybe 30 feet from the wetland or so. And I know it's not in the wetland, it's in the upland review, but I am thinking that there's a large hill, it comes down into this property, and that's where the rain garden is. And I know that the pavement, I believe that where all the parking is for the house, that'll flow toward the bottom of the diagram, so to speak, and or most of it, not the other way. And I think there was a comment from the engineer, and then he said it was addressed, so that there is going to be there's going to be runoff, obviously, from the pavement, and it won't go directly into the wetland, but if I'm correct, that is flowing toward us and not the other way.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. Yeah, there's a bit of a high spot in the middle of the site. So, I don't know, Freddie, if you want to pull up your stormwater, maybe just quickly show the summary of pre and post and the watershed. Page
Sure.
that quickly.
Give me a second.
Or I can pull it up if you have to go.
No, I have. So we are slightly reducing the runoff. You are correct. There is a high point or sort of a saddle on that upper portion of the lot. All the pavement area is going toward the road, not toward the rear. Let's see if I go to. So this is okay. This is the existing conditions plan, and you can see there's sort of a saddle in the middle of this, so that's what's draining that way, and everything else is draining out toward the road. In the proposed condition, that divides moves slightly so that we can capture the pavement in our various disconnected infiltration areas and our storage areas, and not have any of the pavement run to the back. The only thing that, and really in a flat spot, is the roof infiltrators we have over on the side here. So really the only thing that'll be running toward the back is probably some lawn area. I think we've done probably as good a job as can be done here. This was, if you've looked through the report, the model is very complicated because all these separate items, but I think the town engineer was satisfied with how we did it, and I as far as the gravel paving, we're coming up a slope to this upper area here, and I think that's problematic. I think they're going to end up with stone all running down the driveway and into the various areas, and so I think that's a mistake here. The pavement is limited to the required parking spaces plus an extra space each, which also serves as a backing area for when nobody's in it. Otherwise, if we don't give them an extra space, they'll be parking in the grass anyway. So I think we've done as much as we could do here, really.
Commissioner Bagman, it's helpful just to hear the process and to, yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments on 42 Silver Street from the commission?
This is Commissioner Boda. I'm excited to see the rain garden. Do you want to just pull up the
Staff report.
profile on that real quick?
Pull up the what?
You have the specifications on it.
Yeah, there's our detail.
Detail. That's the word that. It's 9
Section
o'clock.
through describing the materials that get used in here, and then also the long-term maintenance.
How deep is it?
It's only it's about 1.5 feet of that mix that a lot of places sell now because of these rain gardens, and then there's stone wrapped in fabric at the bottom. So it's about 2.5 feet total, with a little depressed area for, surface water. Get to give it a chance to get in the ground. this detail originally came from the Yukon site as well.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I do have a possible condition for consideration that the planting plan be reviewed by the authorized agent.
Yeah.
And shall
And
be
that's fair. I mean, I don't know what, the owner wants to put in here, but so we give them, you got to pick from this list. And there's a whole bunch of plants there. So when he decides, then we'll submit it before he puts them in.
Yeah, they don't want to put the wrong stuff in there. It'll just
Agreed.
die.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, you want to take us through those possible conditions that might surface? Any other questions or comments on this?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. For standard inspection / site meetings, we've got pre-construction, erosion control, stormwater drainage structure inspection, and final inspection. Prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, a planting plan shall be submitted for review and approval by the duly authorized agent. Per the rain garden detail, the planting plan shall consist of a mix of perennials, grasses, and shrubs. Planting shall be completed if seasonally appropriate. If it is not seasonally appropriate to plant, planting shall be implemented at the start of the next growing season. And B, the wetland signs shall be installed per the site plan. And then the last one is C, which is our standard language for an as-built shall be.
Any commissioner feel that we need to add any additional possible considerations? Is it the opportunity to make a motion on 250903 42 Silver Street?
This is Commissioner Boda. Can we just also add for, well, I don't know. So hear me out for a second. For the rain garden, in the past, when we have like limits of clearing or whatever, we have, but I'm not saying we need to put signs everywhere, but we've put markers that are like, this is a conservation area. Is there a way that we can ensure that that rain garden is maintained as a rain garden, and that's communicated in a way, you'll buy the house, they sell the house, 5 years later, we have new homeowners. How do we communicate that area is intentional and goes with the property? Is there
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent kind of roundabout, but the proposal would require special exception approval, which is required to be filed on the land record. So anyone doing their due diligence should be aware that there's an approved plan that they should be looking at.
This is the Commissioner Boda. There's a lot of sheds and cash buyers, and there's a lot of people not doing due diligence. Mr. Peretti, do you have a solution for us?
I was just looking for something. So there's, because the plan does get filed, I do some reviews for Woodbridge, and we have in situations where these kind of elements are on the plan.
Yeah.
We have had notes added that one says it's A note published on the site plan states the proposed stormwater management measure to be installed on the site are considered permanent fixtures. Property owner is responsible for the stormwater management measures' continued maintenance in accordance with the public schedule and for the preservation of their continued functionality. The stormwater management measures cannot be filled in, abandoned, left in disrepair, or otherwise altered without prior consent of the Town Inland Wetlands Commission.
Those are
That's
good
nice
words.
language.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to add that.
Okay, so we're gonna add to, this is Commissioner, but we're gonna add to, what's that, 2C? Language to be furnished by Mr. Peretti regarding the permanence of the stormwater management, particularly the rain garden. Something to that effect. Jamie, is that too vague? Is that appropriate or close enough to appropriate to work?
I think it works.
Okay. Is there anything else before I make a motion? Okay. This is so Commissioner Boda, I would make a motion to approve inland wetland 25.09.03 42 Silver Street with the conditions dated in the staff report dated, where am I? I didn't today. Dated 12/11/2025 with the including all conditions, possible conditions for consideration to be conditions for approval, with the addition of a 2.C, which will include language provided by Mr. Peretti to ensure the maintenance and perpetuity of the stormwater management, in particular the rain garden, as well as the standard conditions and the general provisions in the issuance of all permits.
I'm going to send you that
Wait,
language.
you still need a vote.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Jamie, I just cut and pasted it into an email. I'm going to send you that text that I just read.
Okay.
You could edit it however you see fit.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
This is
This
This is Commissioner Sotomayor. I second the motion.
Okay. Commissioner Sotomayor seconded the motion. Any further discussion?
No.
Take a roll call vote. Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor.
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Gokowski.
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Bergman, aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And this is Commissioner Boda. Jamie, can you save that language for future? Maybe we may end up wanting to tweak it a little bit, but I like it, and I like that it, goes on the land record.
Okay, we have an application for receipt inland wetland 25-3, 14 Long Point Road, replacing the existing septic tank, modifying the location. We generally don't have a
We're
presentation.
just going to have this be for receipt this evening.
Right, so we're moving on. Inland Wetland 25-6, 596, 612, and 1616, pardon me, 616 East Main Street, construction of a rehabilitation hospital and associated driveway, storm drainage, and utilities. For this one, I think, Jamie, you indicated we may have a overview.
Yes, we are, the applicant submitted at least a week before the meeting and is looking to provide a brief presentation. I think the commission may want to consider a couple of options, but I will let the applicant team do their overview first, and then we can.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jamie. John Nuff, 42 Cherry Street, on behalf of the applicant Encompass Health. We very much appreciate the opportunity to present this during the receipt meeting. I know that the policy of the commission has changed, but I think in this case, for a project of this magnitude, it probably makes sense to have this sort of introduction. So my property, Encompass Health, is a contract purchaser of the 3 properties you identified on East Main Street. They're comprised of about 20.6 acres. Not entirely relevant to the application, but just so you understand the use. They're proposing a inpatient rehabilitation facility. It will treat people inpatient for about 2 weeks on average, people who are about 75 years of age, again, on average, people who have suffered from stroke, neurological disorders, spinal cord injuries, other orthopedic injuries. So it's a very important use, obviously, for the community and for the town of Branford. The property is, as I said, 20.6 acres. There is a open field area. That open field area is surrounded by dense woods. There are a couple of man-made ponds on the property. We are only going to be developing the portion that is the open field area. We're not doing any work directly in a wetland. We are going to be modifying one of the man-made ponds to turn into a stormwater basin. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity to utilize something that's already there, and is a good alternative to, frankly, cutting down trees in order to create a stormwater basin. So with us this evening are Matt Regan, who is a soil scientist with Ty and Bond, and Eric Lindquist, who is our professional engineer. And so we'll be quick, but we want to turn it over to Matt so he can describe the site and its resources, and then Eric can describe to you the proposed development and his proposed stormwater treatment.
Great.
Hi, yes, thank you. My name is Matt Regan, professional wetland scientist and soil scientist with Ty and Bond. As you see here, we have a document showing the proposed plan, existing conditions. The wetland that's primary of interest is the man-made pond in the north central portion of the site right there. This site was formerly an agricultural field, and this man-made pond was in an area that was formerly an orchard, I believe. But it currently is a pond with a fringe of invasive Phragmites around it.
Good afternoon, good evening. For the record, my name is Eric Lindquist, Senior Project Manager with Ty and Bond, and a licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut. Matt just gave an overview of the existing condition for the pond of influence. So I'll just go to the next sheet, which will show the site plan developed over the existing condition plan. So you can see here, as John had noted, we're developing this site within the open area. The intent is really to minimize the impacts as much as humanly possible. As noted before, this pond back here is where the storm drainage improvements will be made. The invasive species will be removed, and we'll be improving it with more appropriate plantings for a situation like this. There'll be a meadow mix as well as wetland shrubs around the perimeter. The pond will be designed to meet the Connecticut deep requirements for a wet pond with a standing 4-foot water base and a vegetated shelf. So this is designed to meet all those requirements of the Stormwater Quality Manual. Wetland patterns or drainage patterns will mimic the existing condition. I'll just quickly show it to you just to show that this is the existing condition. It's broken up into essentially 3 areas that go out to the back and a couple in the front. And as I switch to the other sheet, you can see they're pretty much completely maintained for the project. So we're not impacting that to any of the other wetlands on site. So that's a very high level overview of the project in terms of the drainage approach. I could go into further details if you guys have questions on how the pond is designed, but I'll leave it there for now as a high level entry discussion with this proposal.
Thank you, Eric. So Mr. Chairman, as Eric said, he's happy to answer any other questions. We're assuming, of course, that the commission will want to hold a public hearing and and probably also conduct a site walk. And we're hoping that we can schedule both of those this evening. Right now, I guess we may have some snow on Sunday, but currently you still have the opportunity to go and walk the site without not being impeded or covered in snow. So obviously the holidays are coming up as well. So I'll leave it to you to figure out when you'll be doing that. But we would look forward to being back before you in a public hearing on January 8th.
This is Commissioner Basserman. I guess certainly I think a site walk is appropriate for this site. And I guess with the weather being unpredictable, it's probably worth doing sooner rather than later. I guess my question is, if we feel we need external expert opinion, January 8th may be problematic. So I guess maybe you have, hold on one second, Michael. I guess at this point, maybe it would be worthwhile having Mr. Lindquist just go over a little bit of the detail on the pond at this point and what changes would be made to that area.
Sure, I'd be more than happy to do that. I'll reshare my screen to go back to the pond. So this actually worked out, in my professional opinion, very well in terms of this being a solution for the site. As noted by John, the potential use of some other area on site to provide storm drainage without using this area because this is here would have been problematic given we're trying to maintain this within the existing developed footprint. So this pond shape is essentially exactly where the pond is now. It hasn't changed at all. There will be regrading within the pond to provide a little bit more depth so we can get a standing water elevation that provides the water quality volume. So that was something that was maintained. And like I said, it's going to have a permanent pool that is the water quality volume. We also needed to shape it to have a sediment forebay within it. So that was essentially the big change is just regrading to provide all those requirements of the wet pond per the Connecticut deep requirements. Currently, there's a high level overflow of the existing pond that's over here. That goes down and comes through this area here. And just perfectly enough, that's a great opportunity for us to pipe through here. So we don't even have to clear for that. It's just going through an already cleared area and providing a level spreader there. So the level spreader will have a precast curb on it to allow for water to evenly distribute and go over into the existing woods. So we'll be not providing a point discharge, but a sheet flow discharge. So that is essentially the big improvement for the pond. There will be one other, if I go to the front, there will be one other discharge over here. This is a very small area. If I go to the watershed map, I can show you just how small that is. It's just this little tiny area in here. I did that because we didn't want to increase runoff to the state system. So we captured this. This will be a water quality inlet structure. So we'll be getting treatment. And then that'll also discharge to a level spreader that will go to the wetlands. Everything else will be either be going into our pond or very small areas out in front of the site will be draining towards the post road or towards East Main Street like they currently do. They'll just be reduced in flow because we're taking more of that flow to the rear.
This is Commissioner Basserman. And other wetlands on the site are where?
The other wetlands, I can go back to the first page of this. So this shows it clearly. Maybe it's better to go to the second page so you can see the site with it. But the other wetlands, there's a wetland along the western side of the site over here. There is also wetlands down by the Branford River, which is just off the north end of the site up here. So there's an associated wetland system with that. And there's also another man-made impoundment over in this area right here, which is essentially what the property line just wraps around. That's over here. We're not touching that. We're not touching this existing driveway, which services these two parcels over here. So that'll be maintained through our site right now. And we'd be demolishing the existing building here and just planting that up with grass and trees and just making it green from what it is now, a building.
And one further question, Commissioner Basserman. One further question. In terms of the regrading of the pond, the slope when you're done on that regrading would be what?
Inside the pond?
Yes.
It'll vary because there's, I believe it's between 1 and 3 and 1 and 4. I can actually, if you want, I can go to the sheet in the back here, which will show, I have a section of the pond. Actually, I think I have it. Let me just go to this one. That's fine. So this is an exaggerated scale, so it looks a lot more than it really is. But through here, it'll show you the slopes on the pond. So it's a 3-on-1 through here, and then there's the aquatic bench, which is where a lot of the plantings will be right at the permanent pool elevation. That's a 6-on-1, and then it's back to a 3-on-1 within the pond. So it's a 3-on-1 to shelf to 3-on-1.
Thank you.
Yep.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. If my memory serves me correctly, that man-made pond was done when the property owner was thinking about putting a pirates museum on the property.
That is correct.
That's correct. Yes.
And personally speaking, I've visited the Encompass building up in Danbury, and I have to say they did a phenomenal job building that structure. If they do half of what they did up in Danbury and Branford, it's going to be an absolutely gorgeous piece of property. Absolutely gorgeous.
It's a very similar, I worked on that one as well. It's a very similar project. It's got a wall on one side. That one had 2. This one only has 1. But it's going to be a very similar footprint and a very similar approach to how we do it. If anyone wants to see the building, this is essentially what the building will look like right here. It's a really, really attractive building.
And I'm also glad you're not touching the wetlands, because that happens to be a nice area of the property to walk around.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, we wanted to minimize our impact out here and just keep it to the disturbed areas as much as we could.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I do want to just clarify. I think everyone's probably picked up on this, but there is activity proposed in the man-made pond. So there is activity in a wetland. Per their application, 17,806 square feet. Of course, they've shown that they're looking to essentially restore it back to a wetland that would also function as a stormwater basin. During pre-application, I did tell the applicants that the commission hasn't had a past practice of looking at basins as stormwater management. That being said, not all stormwater basins are the same. So I would just suggest that the applicant might want to provide, and maybe you have, because I haven't looked through everything, but consider providing some more information in that regard. And I do just want to identify that because there is that 17,800 square feet of activity in a wetland, section 7.9 does apply to the application, as would section 7.10. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Does any member of the commission feel that we would need to bring in a third party for this application, or do we have sufficient knowledge to be able to address this?
Well, this is Commissioner Boda. I'm not sure it's a knowledge issue so much as it is a credential issue. So I think that there is, yeah, I think that there is probably sufficient knowledge, but based on the state and what's considered an expert in certain areas, if there is a conflict of opinion the only opinion we can use to make a determination is one that is based off of expert testimony. So, I think that is, if we needed an expert, it would be around that, let's say, some of those services and functions that are provided by existing wetlands and what the proposal is doing versus what it's offering. That would be my primary concern in terms of needing to have an additional expert. So it would need to, if we were going to go that route, I think typically in larger applications, we have someone that can speak to the stormwater management and all sorts of other issues. I think this would probably be around functions and values and ecological services and chemical processes and whatnot. So it could be helpful. I don't think we need everybody that we would normally need on a large project, but.
And in terms of a site walk, is there a general agreement that we would benefit from a site walk on this site?
Yeah.
And do we want to try to do that sooner rather than later?
This is Commissioner Boda. I think if we're going to put out an RFP for an additional expert, it would make sense to have that expert in place and then have the site walk so that we can do it all in one fell swoop.
When you say one fell swoop, this Commissioner Bassman, you mean one meeting?
Yeah, one site walk.
Yeah. And
or Jamie, I don't know, maybe
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. So I can't think of a past
practice
where we've done that. And I guess my thought and concern would be, I bet you that the professional spends more time out there than the commissioners on it.
And we could go this one. That's fine.
And by the way, to be clear, I'm sorry to interrupt, but obviously this is John Duff. We would be happy once a peer reviewer is in place to, give him free access, him or her free access for as long as they might want to view the site. And obviously they might probably have some questions for Eric or Matt, and we'll make them available as well. I mean, personally, we have no objection to a peer reviewer. I've always embraced peer reviews because it gives the commission comfort that what our own experts are telling you is the truth. My own concern is my client is this is a really wonderful project, as I think you've already heard, is to keep the process moving. We're not asking for a substantive shortcut. We just want, to keep the process itself being as efficient as possible.
And I guess to that point, if we were to schedule a site walk, we probably have to do that, in the next week, or it's not going to happen until after the first of the year. Is that something that the commission can make themselves available next week for a site walk? Unfortunately, with the time, it's likely to be the weekend.
This is Commissioner Boda. It would have to be like Saturday or Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Like morning.
Right.
Are you talking about this weekend or next weekend? Because we have to provide at least 48 hours notice.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Oh, yeah.
For the notice.
Next weekend would be the same. The 20th, 21st, that would also be. But after that.
Right.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Just to state for the record, I will be available on the 20th, but the 21st I will not be available.
So I'm looking at this. It says notice of each special meeting shall be posted not less than 24 hours before the meeting.
I'm gonna do that
So-
Saturday. This is Commissioner Boda. You want to do the 20th?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Armstrong. I am not available 19, 20, 21, and 22.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Did you say 24 hours if we did
Yeah,
it?
so theoretically we could do it Saturday as long as we did
Right,
it late enough
that's-
in the day. We
that's
could
what I'm
file it
thinking.
tomorrow morning. I thought it was 48, but it says 24.
Can we
Yeah,
do-
I don't know if the applicant seems available this weekend.
I don't know. Mr. Nuff seems very eager.
I'm always eager.
I know it.
I'm sure we can figure. You know, I've asked Eric and Matt to make sure that the flags, the wetland flags, are still in place. My guess is you may want to at least see where the building's going to be laid out, and we can, you know, put a stake or two in the ground if that's something that would be helpful.
Yeah, corners of the building is helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm out of town on the 20th. I could do the 21st.
I'd prefer this weekend, Commissioner Begelman.
Can we do the 21st?
That's the following.
No, I'm not the 21st.
Oh, no, that's Sunday instead of Saturday.
I mean, I meant Sunday. I'm sorry, I'm on the 13th. The 14th.
14th is good.
Going once, going twice.
This is Commissioner Sotomayor. I can't do the 14th, but I can do the 13th. Sorry.
I know I have no role in this, but the 13th would be my preference.
I'm available the 13th.
13th. Saturday.
13th.
This Saturday, that'll work with the notice requirement, Jamie?
Can you do it by like 9 so we can go by 10? Is that visible?
That works for me.
10 is feasible. We can definitely have it posted.
Okay.
So wait, but what day did we say?
Saturday.
Saturday, 13th, 10 o'clock. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Oh,
At 10 a.m. and meeting at the main parking lot on the main parcel. We'll add that information, confirm and add that.
I think the driveway on the east is fairly wide, so there's probably sufficient parking.
Okay.
So closer to 616 side.
Correct. I'm not sure the addresses, but the one that's to the far east. There's two houses accessed by one driveway.
Okay. Sure, I'll see all the cars.
We'll put it on the agenda.
This is Commissioner Boda. So are we gonna say it's 9:36? Are we gonna make a decision about, oh my God, peer review?
I have a cheat sheet for checklist workflow sheet I can pull up if you want to try and work through that.
Yeah,
Mr. Michael has put his hand up like 7 times.
Yeah, I think 7 times. I want to address that before we get into peer review. Michael, why don't you identify yourself and
Yes, thank you, commissioners. Michael Leone for the owner of 2333 School Ground Road. So we're not opposed to this project, but we are downslope, obviously, from the project. So we do have some concern with any potential runoff. I believe we were identified as IG2 on the maps that they had pulled up previously. You know, we're worried screening obviously is not part of your purview, but we are worried about both screening and runoff from any potential project uphill from us. So that's our concern, and we just want to make sure that it's addressed and that it doesn't impact its woodwinds, which you all commonly will know. We want to make sure that it doesn't impact us who would be downslope.
Michael,
Boda, Do you know you can just well, there's a process, but you can sign on, you can do the process to be an intervener, and then you get access to all the documents. And
oh, I know. I didn't know about it until today.
Well, there you go. Merry Christmas.
Michael, I'm John Duff here on behalf of the applicant. We would be happy to work with you. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your full name, but perhaps if Jamie or someone could share, our contact information with each other, and I will be sure to be in touch. We're very confident in the design, and we want to make sure that you're fully apprised of what's taking place on the abutting property. So
I appreciate that, John. I work at Lynch, Traub, Keefe, and Arante, so once we're off camera, I'm happy to share my contact, or I'm happy to give it to you now. I'll give you my phone number now. It's 203.
Okay.
787 0275.
0205.
0275.
Okay.
And my personal extension is 222.
Got it. Okay.
And this, Commissioner Bassman, there's likely to be a public hearing on this, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to raise your concerns, Michael.
As they relate to wetlands and water courses.
I appreciate it.
But you have
very helpful. And again, we're not opposed to the project. We just have some concerns, obviously, as being the downhill neighbors.
All right. Commissioner Bassman, back to the question of peer review.
Okay.
Jamie, we would put out an RFP, and generally what's that process take in terms of time? Would we be able to do that at the January 8th meeting, or is that going to be 2 weeks later?
You mean, so we would have to send out the request for proposals. We'd have to give them time to respond to the request for proposals.
Right.
Receive it, make a decision, and have a deadline for when the report has to be submitted. So the commission has 65 days to open a public hearing. We haven't addressed yet whether or not the commission wants to hold a public hearing. So that's another carrot we have to kind of look at. But if the commission were to hold a public hearing, it would have to be open by the February 12th meeting at the latest. If the commission were to decide on an RFP tonight, we could probably get something out Monday or Tuesday. And then theoretically I don't know, given the holiday season, that it's reasonable to expect responses January 6th.
8th.
But we would want the report. We would want on that at some point before. I mean, I guess we could go January 7th. I don't know. It makes a huge difference.
No.
But I don't think we need a lot of time to review these. I don't think usually don't get piles of responses. I guess that gives them 3 weeks, but it's over the holiday season. And then if the commission were to decide January 8th, I would suggest probably a due date of January 29th. Gives them 3 weeks to get the report out, I believe, so that it could be reviewed at the February 28th. Assuming that time frame works and that the commission wants to hold it.
Jimmy, if I could just clarify one or two things. So I know the commission has a meeting on January 8th, and then the next meeting is not until the 29th or the 22nd.
I think I might have been looking at my 2025 calendar instead of my
22nd.
The 22nd. Yeah. Oh no, I was just skipping an extra week ahead. Oh no, so I was saying the 29th would be when the report was due. Which would give them 3 weeks for review.
So you're saying at the meeting on the 8th, the peer reviewer will be selected, given the assignment, and then their report will be due the 29th?
I mean, that's one option. could say the 22nd. It doesn't really change anything in regards to which meeting we're looking at. I don't think giving them 1 week to get a report out.
Yeah.
Especially on top of asking for the request for proposals over the holiday season is going to work too well, but
is it unreasonable to at least consider us? Obviously, we're going to be back before you on the 8th in some manner, shape, or form, not as a public hearing probably, but at least keep the option open that we could open our public hearing on the 22nd. Because otherwise, then we'd be looking at February 12th.
Correct. February 12th. So the commission has had a past practice of trying to get peer review comment letters prior to open the public hearings. So that way all that information is available at the onset of the review and discussion. I'll let the commission, I guess, respond to that. I think by my calculation, the commission has until February 14th to open the public hearing, again, should they decide to have one. I do understand the request to try and keep things moving too. So,
well, here's a potential solution. We could plan on opening it the 22nd. If the peer review report is not available, we can open and just continue it. But we can at least, by that point, we can have our notices out. We could have the sign up. We could have, maybe accomplish a few things.
Well, this is Commissioner Bassman. The reality is when we send out the RFP, the responses and will probably dictate.
No, I understand. It's a terrible time of year for that.
Yeah. Right. Let's go back to the public hearing issue. The criteria for a public hearing is there's got to be some significant impact on the wetland, correct?
Or just public interest.
So there's 3 reasons the commission may hold a public hearing. One is that they find it's in the public's best interest. One is they receive a petition that meets the statutory requirements requesting a public hearing. And the third one is the commission makes a finding that the activity may have a significant impact on wetlands and watercourses. If the commission makes a finding that the activity may have a significant impact on wetlands and watercourses, they have to make a finding when reviewing the application that there's no prudent feasible alternative.
And we have no objection to a public hearing based upon public interest.
You're saying there's not a significant impact of the wetland?
Or that there's no.
I mean, candidly, I understand we use the term significant impact all the time, but I also read the definition, and I don't think any of these are triggered. I know that we're going to be
doing work
fixing
you're doing work in a water course that permanently changes the water course.
Understood. Any activity involving deposition or removal of material which may have a substantial effect on the wetland or water course, I guess it will have an effect to the positive.
This is Commissioner Begman.
That's yet to be proven.
This is Commissioner Begman. It's 10 of 10, and I think we should hold this discussion when we actually talk about it. So can we just move on with what we're
the issue?
The point, Commissioner Begman, is just to fix the dates for the public hearing.
The issue is how do we determine what we're doing next in terms of if we're having a public hearing, what is triggering the public hearing in order to set the dates. I'm up at 4:30. I'm done 15 minutes ago. And I'm still here. It's too late for this. But the issue, we need to make a decision about what the public hearing, what's the catalyst for the public hearing, because if we say that it is significant impact, then the applicant is required to show that there is no prudent and feasible alternative to what they're doing, which I think is Mr. Nuff's understandable concern given their plan. So what he's seeking is that it's because of public interest, he's not going to object to that because it keeps us out of the prudent and feasible requirement. Does that sum it up?
This is Commissioner Bassman, and the discussion over the last 10 minutes seems to me to suggest that, yes, we do need a peer review party in this application.
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I will just quickly throw out there, it is, as everyone's identified, fairly late. We did just schedule a site walk for the 13th. I think I'm going to get shot down, but I'm going to throw it out there. Do we want to schedule a brief special meeting early next week after everyone's seen the site to hash out the public hearing and peer review question? I don't know if people even have available.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Jamie, when next week were you thinking about having that quick meeting?
Preferably Monday or Tuesday, so that if we're trying to stick to that initial schedule, I can get the RFP out ASAP.
Can we keep it to under 40 minutes? Folks,
I don't know that that's unreasonable. It keeps it moving.
Yeah. So if if we could do that on Tuesday, the 16th, I think that would work. That would work better for my brain anyway.
What time?
7 o'clock. Same.
7 o'clock.
Just keep it the same. Just Tuesday.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. That would work. I probably might be a few minutes late. I'll be driving in from Massachusetts, but it shouldn't be an issue. I should be back just before the meeting starts.
This is Commissioner Begman. I can't make that date. Hopefully you'll have a quorum otherwise, though.
Yeah, that works for me. Commissioner Sotomayor, is that something that you can accommodate?
I have to work overnight Monday, but I believe I have Tuesday off. So I should be waking up a little bit before that.
Great.
I should be able to make it.
Thank you. So David, Suzanne, myself.
Armstrong.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Yeah, Commissioner Armstrong, yes, I can make it.
All right. Okay, so we have a scheduled site walk on the 13th. 10 o'clock, and we're going to schedule a special meeting, which you would have to notice that tomorrow, Jamie?
We would notice it tomorrow as well, yeah.
Notice the...
and that would be held remotely via Zoom.
On a Zoom platform at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 16th.
Can the applicant team be present for that?
We will be there, yes.
This is Commissioner Goklowski again, 10 a.m. for the 13th?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are we done with 25-6 for the moment?
Thank you all for the accommodation. I won't wish you a happy holiday. I'll do that next week, but thank you all very much.
All right, got the site visit on the 13th, and then we're continuing the matter to the...
Always trouble when Mr. Nuff shows up.
What's that?
Always trouble when Mr. Nuff shows up. I saw you. I was like, oh, God, something's coming.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Right. All right, item 8 on our agenda, jurisdictional ruling 25-1, 2 Tipping Drive, removal of invasive vegetation along the drainage swale.
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. Is anyone here from the jurisdictional ruling for this? Because if not, I'm probably going to suggest that we continue it to the January.
Let's table it. Yeah.
Yep.
Good plan.
Just because of the time frame and because I wanted to reach out on some things and I didn't.
Oh, keep going.
So we're continuing it to the next regularly scheduled
January.
meeting.
Okay. Enforcement, CISA correct 25-01, 2233 School Ground Road, the removal of some vegetation adjacent to the watercourse, and the filling and grading within upland review area without a permit. This is a show cause hearing. Can you frame it for us, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent. So this is a tag team between Heather and I. I was out for the day and Heather went out to do the initial investigation. Essentially, we were noticed that there was some activity happening out at Woodwinds. They had brought out some fill material and regraded and had removed some vegetation. The property owner / tenant / council, I'm sure will give more information, but they have their reasons for why they were doing the activity. They were told not to do any more activity beyond stabilization. And if they want to maintain any of the conditions, they're going to have to get approval from inland wetlands and potentially some other agencies as well. So forgive me because my brain is also starting to shut down, even though I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning. But I can pull up the Dropbox and share the order with some photos. So I joined Heather back out of the site to meet with the owner of Woodwinds. And at that time, they had installed erosion control blanket on the slope. So I would say my immediate concerns have been addressed. We did request that they put some wood chips or mulch on the disturbed soil down by the watercourse, which my understanding has been completed, but we were not able to go out today to complete that inspection to confirm. So I'm going to just jump real quick down to some of the photos. So this is the area I was just talking about that we're requesting get mulched. This is the Branford River. This is the toe of slope from before the matting being installed. This is the fill looking towards the watercourse. And then this is from that cleared area down by the watercourse looking back at the fill after the blanket had been installed. So that's a really quick high overview. They've been directed, like I said, to stop work and either come up with a restoration plan or a permit application, essentially. So, and they've also been basically directed to give us a time frame that they think they might need to come up with that plan. Any questions before I hand it over to...
This is Commissioner Boda. I'm signing off.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, what's the size of the disturbance?
You know, I didn't estimate that out. Heather, did you look at that or?
Size insofar as actual distance or amount?
Approximate square footage area.
I would say approximately 1,200 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Give or 12 of the area that was disturbed adjacent to the waterway. I'd say it's about 12 to 1,500 square feet, and then that's separate from the area that was filled. Those are two different, distinct locations.
And excuse me, this is Commissioner Basserman again. The filled area estimate would be what?
Yeah, 1,800 to 2,000 square feet over the top of it. Yeah.
So I guess this is Commissioner Basserman again. Jamie, why wouldn't this be an application for, correction?
It possibly could, and that's why we presented that as an option. And I think that's the route that the violators likely to take. I will just quickly identify that there are some potential other concerns beyond our agency, such as whether or not any of the fill is in the floodway, and that the grading is compliant with the planning and zoning requirements. But if they can comply with all local regulations, and one of the things, and as part of submitting an application, is we do need a wetland delineation because we're not sure where the wetland limits relative to the watercourse is and whether any of that clearing occurred in wetland area. So confirmation, and that would matter as far as how that area is restored. So it's my understanding that this work was done because Eversource has lines going through here. And I want to say last year, if not the year before, they did a bunch of line work and they cut a bunch of trees. And that has impacted the views for the venue. So they're trying to make it more visually appealing. But I don't want to speak too much to that. I'll let the Woodwind speak to that more. So I guess.
Okay. Michael, why don't you identify yourself and give us your thoughts?
No problem. My name is Michael Leone. I'm an attorney at Lindstrom, Keefe and Ronte, and I represent the owners of 2333 School Ground Road, which is commonly known as Woodwinds. I will be honest, I was retained yesterday for this, so I do not have the intimate knowledge that your inland wetland officers have with regards to this. But my understanding is my client only got the cease and desist, I believe, on Monday. So this is a very quick turnaround for us today. All that said is my client is trying to clean up and fix what Eversource did a few years ago. My understanding from my client is that he had not only contacted the town regards to what Eversource had done in this area, but actually sued Eversource and pursued legal remedies with regards to what they did in this area. He cleaned up and he thought he was doing the right thing. Whether or not the commission feels the same is something else. The area downslope towards the wetlands area. He has put in fill, and your inland wetland officer is not wrong that he is trying to put up more screening for the neighboring properties. I mean, we're all familiar with the area. And Woodwinds is in a unique situation that they are in a area that has a lot of industrial complexes around them. He's willing to work with the commission. He's willing to, as I believe your officer has already stated, he's put in fencing. He is doing what they've requested he do for the short term, and we're here to do what is best for both him and the town. If an application is what the town is looking for, we are happy to do it to make sure that we have complied with the requirements.
Okay.
Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. So I do think the first step of investigating for an application will be knowing where the wetland limits are, and through the investigation, the legwork of establishing an application. If there's any questions that come up, by all means, feel free to contact staff. For the commission's sake, and for anyone in receipt of the violation, show cause hearing has to happen within 10 days of issuing an order. So we're opening the show cause hearing this evening. I anticipate that it will be continued. At this point, like I said, the site has generally been stabilized. So my main concern is keeping the process moving, but also in a way that we're not bringing it up every meeting unnecessarily if we don't have an update, but also so that we're not completely tabling this and it goes by the wayside. So I I guess one question I would have is whether or not anyone was able to get a hold of a wetland scientist and or a surveyor / engineering firm to kind of get a time frame of what the turnaround on those deliverables might be.
So we have started reaching out to both a soil scientist and the landscape architect and engineer to try to turn that around. But as anticipated, when I was retained yesterday, I have not been able to secure that, but we are in the process. We have used folks previously on different issues, so I'm hoping to have somebody retained within the next 2 weeks for all of your concerns.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Refresh me again on the 10-day requirement, Jamie.
Statutorily, the commission must hold a show cause hearing within 10 days of issuing a cease and correct order. And that's essentially so that the person in receipt of the order has the opportunity to demonstrate why they feel an order should or should not be upheld and or any concerns they have with content of the order. And also for the commission to review that order and see if you have any direction on if there should be any modifications to that order. So generally speaking, the commission will, kind of initially affirm the things in the order and or modify or lift if everything's been satisfied or the commission deems it's not a violation. But the commission usually
can you post the email that was sent?
The letter?
Yes, or the letter, I'm sorry.
And I mean, I understand the 10-day order. We're currently at 4, so we're at somewhat of a disadvantage, and mostly because you folks aren't meeting again. I know you're now doing a special meeting next week, but you didn't have a regularly scheduled meeting again this month, so we're on 4 days. I believe that I don't want to put word in Ms. Frederick's mouth, but I think my client has been more than conciliatory to try to correct any issues she has concerns with.
Just so I understand it, the cease and correct was issued on the 1st, and this is 10 days later, and we're having the meeting, so we met the statutory obligation, correct?
It was issued on Monday.
It was issued on the 8th.
It was issued on the 8th. Then how do we get 2512-01?
Because it's the first cease and correct order issued in December. Because sometimes we get multiple cease and correct orders on the same day.
All right, got it. All right.
No, I understand and my client understands the constrictions of December, but we're here in good faith and we're trying to, and again, as I don't want to put any words in Ms. Frederick's mouth, but my client has been trying to belie her concerns as much as he can in the 4-day period that we've had.
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I will say we've been in correspondence longer than that 4-day period, but this letter has only been out in a brief period of time. That being said, I am happy with the response I've received to date. I think the next step is, when do we need to touch base again? And I think if I had to fast track one thing, make one thing a priority for next steps, is having that wetland delineation done. So that way we can have that in our, that information relative to what the next steps will look like as far as getting the site into compliance, whether a straight application is acceptable or if there's going to have to be a mitigation restoration component to the plan.
This is Commissioner Basserman, but as the letter indicates in item 3, we certainly have a choice to make tonight as to what's the level of professional scientists we need. And I guess what you're saying is, given the fact that there is not a delineated wetland, we need a licensed soil scientist to do that work.
Yeah, so I think tonight the first step is for the commission to, agree or disagree with step 3. I am suggesting a wetland scientist needs to do a wetland delineation, and that ultimately, if Woodland's looking to keep the condition, they would have to, or keep a modified version of the condition, they would have to submit an application for that activity. I would suggest that that should be on a formal site plan, as required per the regulations, especially given the amount of fill and the steepness of the slope, which I think currently exceeds the zoning regulations. So they should be looking to bring it into compliance at minimum with that. So that way they don't have to go through in the wetlands, planning and zoning, back to wetlands, back to zoning.
And the floodplain manager has also been made aware that this could potentially be in the floodplain, so he'll have to determine after wetlands if that's something that he needs to address or not.
This is
Mr. Basserman, do we then also want to indicate that not only a professional soil scientist needs to be hired, but that an application needs to be prepared for this CESA, correct?
So I think you could identify a date that you're expecting the application to be submitted by.
This
an
is
application and or restoration plan.
This is Commissioner Begemon. If don't we need to know what the fill is made of, how much fill there is? Because we might not want, I mean, if they do an after the fact application, that's different from us saying,
that's a
remove that
question. From what limited part I could see, it looked like reasonable material, but that is certainly something you could require for information to be submitted. So wetland delineation, application and or restoration plan. If application, identify what fill material consists of.
Commissioner Begemon, I would think we would want to know what the fill is either way, because if it's something toxic, we would want them to remove it immediately.
Well,
I'm assuming it's not, but
I can assure you it's but I can assure you he spent good money on making sure that it was clean fill. So
I mean,
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like it's gnarly to me, but I don't know what's underneath.
Commissioner Begemon, the owner should have records of whoever put it there, how much it was and what it consisted of. So it would be great to have those records.
All right, so we want the wetland delineation, what the fill consists of, period. And either an application and or a restoration plan. And I think we should try and set a date. And I think there should be acknowledgement that we don't know what the actual reasonable time frame will be for the professionals to be able to do the legwork.
This is Commissioner Basserman. If it's stable, as I think you seem to indicate, Jamie, why wouldn't we do it the first meeting in February?
I think I'm okay with that as long as the site remains stable. Unless, and then if, does that work for Woodlands?
I'll make it work.
I think that's
I do have the owner on right now, Mr. Supa. I don't think if he has an opinion, he'll chime in, but I'll make whatever February meeting work.
This is Commissioner Basserman. I'm also thinking we got quite a bit in our January profile. We also need, sufficient time for the applicant to be able to pull the soil scientist information and another together. It seems to me the first meeting in February would be the kind of the first opportunity.
All right. So, information on what the fill consists of shall be provided. Wetland delineation shall be completed. No, prior to the February 12th meeting, an application and/or restoration plan shall be submitted for review at the February 12th meeting, or update provided on
Course of action.
time frame required per professional's availability or something like that. Does that work for everyone?
Sounds fair.
This is Heather Gwinnell, zoning wetlands enforcement. If the applicant or if the violator's plan is to retain this and is planning on going through all of the application processes necessary, the zoning regulations do require that slope be addressed in a more significant and appropriate manner.
Frederick, in the wetland agent, to Heather's point, I would recommend that Woodwinds reach out to us, particularly after you get that wetland delineation done, just so we can start talking about next steps, so that way you know you're heading in the right direction, and we can, loop you in on some of the regulations that you probably want to be concerned with as you design.
Happy to work with you. We'll have our landscape architect reach out to you once we have the wetlands delineated.
So Jamie Frederick, in the wetland agent, continuing the show cause hearing to February 12th. And I'll send out a letter to the effect outlining the points that we just discussed so that everyone has something to refer to.
And I'll give you my email because I obviously didn't have an appearance. It's mleone@ltke.com.
I think I may have missed that, but perhaps Tony can get us.
I'll do it. It's okay. It's my first initial, Michael. So it's
okay.
M, last name Leone, Leone, at L as in lion, T as in tank, K as in kangaroo, E as in elephant.com.
All right. Thank you. All right. So I'll include you when I send that out.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And Michael, thank you for hanging in for the amount of time that you did to get to your item.
It's been a night, but it's okay.
All right. All right, we have other business. We're going to have some authorized agents now, more than one.
I think your connection's saying that.
We see here.
I'm sorry, you were really choppy and I got distracted.
Say again? Other business. We have duly authorized agents. What's the process or procedure for this?
Yeah, so essentially we've got some extra staff now, and what I'm looking to do is request the commission appoint Heather Gwinnell, Olivia Sandberg, and Michael Ackers as duly authorized agents. Heather, so that she can issue cease and correct orders. Olivia, so that when she's got a little bit more experience under her, she can issue agent permits for de minimis projects. And the Killwhackers, in case, for whatever reason I'm not here, we can keep things moving. All three have been deep certified, which is the requirement for the commission to consider appointing a staff member as a duly authorized agent. So if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, but that's the request. It would be a motion.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I'll make the motion that as requested by Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent, to designate the following staff members: Heather, Olivia, and Mikhail, how's it pronounced? Mikhail, as duly authorized agents of the Branford Inland Wetlands Commission.
Is there a second on that motion?
Larry Spiegelman, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? By the way, Jamie's title is Deputy Director now, so let's not lose sight of that. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Gokowski?
Commissioner Gokowski, yes.
Commissioner Begeman?
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Commissioner Armstrong, aye.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Commissioner Sotomayor, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Welcome aboard, folks. Glad to have you. We can spread the responsibilities now. I'm sure Jamie is very pleased at that. All right, Jamie, agent approvals. Anything of note here?
I'll answer questions if the commission has any. They're available in the Dropbox, or not in the Dropbox, in OpenGov.
And hearing none, correspondence and announcements, annual meeting 2026 location.
Just confirming the survey came back with remote as the winner for
Okay.
2026.
Not a surprise there, I guess, huh?
No.
Any other items that the commission wants to raise at this point?
Nope, see you Saturday.
Yeah, see you Saturday. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
This program was brought to you in part
Recording
through
stopped.
the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.